Next In.
Welcome to Next In. This is our first episode recorded in our new offices. Doesn't look that different. And soon enough, Shane, we will be in our official podcast room. It's not fully done yet, though. Got to get
3
mics
years
and
later.
yeah, exactly.
3 years later.
In 2026. So welcome everyone for joining us in Next In. We thank you guys for subscribing and liking on this and commenting and everything else in advance, because we know you're all going to do that because you guys are wonderful guests. So, or viewers. Today, really excited. We are joined. Today's topic primarily is going to revolve around that Web3 space. And so we have what we consider an expert in that space. There's the founder of Bitcoin, and then there's Justin Wu. So we have Justin. Justin, come on into the room here. So we got Justin Wu. Thank you so much for joining us. He is launching, or the founder, I guess you would say, of Decentral Miami. So I don't want to give too much of the introduction away. So Justin, tell the millions of viewers a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm the founder of Dcentral Conference. We host Web3 conferences globally. So we just got back. We hosted a smaller summit, an event in Singapore, but we also do Austin and Miami. Next year, we're looking to expand that out further in Southeast Asia and Vietnam, and then also across more cities in the U.S. So heavily U.S. and Asia for now to start, and slowly expanding further.
Wow, that's awesome. So you mentioned states. I guess that kind of leads us into. So we're based in Nashville, Tennessee, right? Greatest state in the country, and Tennessee made pretty big headlines. We were being told through the news that Tennessee was the first state to legislate DOAs, but we are also now reading. It's actually the second. So
after Wyoming and stuff, right?
Yeah. So we're the first state that there's human beings that live in it that has officially brought DAOs to the government bodies, if you will. I don't know how to. I guess that's the best way to say it. So maybe give us a little bit of a 101 of what's a DAO.
Yeah, so DAOs are, they stand for Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. Actually, what's funny, when I first learned about DAOs, this was right before Ethereum was created, actually. It was the first ETH version, I guess, was the idea of it was a DAO, where it's just a collective group of decentralized people or token holders or people get involved in making decisions as a single government body themselves, but then everybody involved with it is decentralized as well. So it could be from a football, like we saw like a decentralized football team. So there could be like many people are the co-owners of the team instead of a single owner. It could be like a beer brand. There's a beer DAO even where people are coming together and collectively being part of a organization that is for that cause. Or you see another groups that are trying to buy the Constitution straight up. So they're just pulling money together for that purpose.
So I was trying to think, how does that Constitution piece work, though? Because originally I was just like, is it like a shareholder thing where it's just like, I own the #1 most amount of percentage of this specific DAO? And I was like really confused for a while, where it was like, how do you become the shareholder or the entity that's managing said DAO?
To be honest, I think it was almost like a crowdfund in a way where it's just a group of people banded together and they said, hey, let's just go out and try to win the bid there. And then from there, we'll have our own governance afterwards. So I guess based on how much you contributed, typically, how much money or tokens you contribute to a DAO will return back to how much governance or shares, or in this case, shares or tokens for you to make decisions for that organization or decentralized organization. So it's kind of like your piece or stake into that, and that's kind of the idea of that, is trying to take that concept of at least governance through these tokens and using those tokens kind of as shares, if you want to compare it to like the Web2 world of having your stake into that organization and having that voting power for there. Obviously,
so your stake and your voting power is ultimately benchmarked to whatever your contribution is towards that entity or that organization, rather than being like a classical LLC. You're a DAO, or instead of being like a classical S corp or C corp. Is that how that works?
Typically, but not always. You know, again, like it could always be, even with like normal C corp, and they have restricted stock and you know, more open common stock as well too. And just because you have more shares doesn't mean you can't boot out like Mark Zuckerberg. You know, if the rules of the governance in there, or like Evan Spiegel from Snapchat still has that clause in that governance saying that he doesn't have to own majority, but he can still make the major decisions. That can be the case too for the DAO, depending on like what the white paper or how that organization takes.
So the DAO would act like a complex LLC where you can make constitutional rights that would allow you to adjust how the operations of that business works. Because like if you're a C corp, you don't get the same get the same measurements as you would as an LLC. You don't have the same flexibilities. You don't have the same decision-making powers, and it's pretty rudimentary compared to.
And also has qualities almost like a trust, almost, where you could say that people don't, you know, with a trust, you can have it that nobody actually owns the trust and that people manage the trust. And so, you know, it depends on how you look at it for tax purposes or governance or other things. But, you know, we're starting to see, you know, different senators and others starting to push ideas that, even, you know, they want to say that even if you're just part of a DAO, you could be legally liable to the DAO's actions, and they can come after you just for being a member of the DAO. So that's a weird thing, because it kind of counters what a DAO actually is. But just the idea of like you being involved with the DAO, you can't claim that that you don't have liability or anything like that. At least that's what, you know, like you know, Elizabeth Warren and others are trying to really hardcore push towards that direction. Obviously, we're not there yet. You know.
Well, that's going to be my next question. It's like, so we've got this idea of like, okay, so Wyoming legalized it, Tennessee legalized it. What do you feel like is preventing other states from unanimously just raising their hand and saying, let's go, let's create this new business entity, full steam ahead?
So, you know, I think first off is just like still like even like the SEC is still catching up with like suing 2017 companies. So like you can already tell how far they're backed up. Like they're just like, even like this past couple of months, they're going after like old influencers and even old projects that were back there. So that means in the timeline scope of things, they're not even fully caught up to like 2022 in terms of like just manpower and where there are in terms of prosecuting and building rules for this. But in terms of like the different states as well too, you know, I think that the more forward thinking cities and states are trying to move forward with it, at least trying to recognize that DAOs can be an entity there, and allow them to register or open up a physical or like a mailing address presence there, so that they can have representation or legal services or tax services or even IP protection in that jurisdiction, or just have representation there. Again, it's like similar to, you know, like especially these DAOs, like there's these DAOs that are servicing other DAOs, and it becomes this whole crazy mess. But they need somebody to represent them in the US, or if you're gonna open a DAO in like Europe, for example.
For the longest time, I always thought a DAO was like this concept of like creating a new coin, right? Like for whatever reason, I thought like a DAO was Bitcoin, a DAO was Litecoin, a DAO like for the longest time, that was my initial instinct, was that's what a DAO was. I didn't necessarily recognize it at the beginning as a form of business formation that just happened to have some sort of tokenization methodology that allowed it to be a catalyst to get jump started. That's what I interpreted.
It could be a token, it could be an NFT, it could be you know, any of those tokenizations to actually get access and have members into that DAO. So for me, again, like the way I look at it is like a decentralized trust / LLC combo in a way. And that's where I think, again, like the regulators don't like that, because again, like, you know, let's say like as a US citizen, you know, you're taxed on every single trade and everything else. But then some people are just straight up saying, hey, I don't even own any wallets. The DAO owns the wallets. The DAO is a code, piece of code that is executing the trades. And I am not taking any profits off of that until the DAO pays me, similar to like, again, a trust is paying you. You're just helping manage the trust, but you don't own the trust. So it's like you're seeing those type of elements come into play. And then what happens if a DAO pays another DAO, and you know, so there's like these different
loopholes. So if a DAO pays another DAO, doesn't that seem as a form of profitability? But then they're saying, well, it's not.
Yeah, well, but then if the
DAO, this is like the world's greatest money laundering scheme of all time. This is awesome.
Yeah, yes and no. It's like it's more like again, it's just because like even the U.S. government just doesn't provide a lot of clarity for all this, and then also too, it's like if the DAO is not even registered in any of the states, and the DAO is a foreign entity, or not even, you know, and that's the thing. These DAOs some of them don't even care to register anywhere, right? They don't have any nation or anybody that they're tied down to, and all the members that are part of it are just coming to some sort of agreement, and then there's
is that where you believe most states they're like, we don't want to acknowledge this because unless they're regulatory, like they're not regulated, they're decentralized clearly, but it's just like, but if they're not benchmarked against a city, a state, or a federal
person
entity,
or entity,
like, what does that mean? How does it mean? How do you define profits? How do you define losses? How do you define what taxes are owed or not owed based off of the entity of this business? And is that why a lot of states aren't unanimously adopting this then, right? And I guess
I think that's part of it. And again, I just think that it's just a lot of states just still don't understand the whole Web3 space in general. And DAO, even in the Web3 community, is still like a super new concept for many. So it's really bleeding edge.
A lot of people in Senate don't understand the internet. General. Like if you watch the interview with Mark Zuckerberg and ads and like and all that stuff, it just like, what is the internet?
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned NFTs, and that's one. Okay, so I'm all for the crypto space. Like when I say all for, I was one of the really intelligent people that once it boomed, bought in, and then it dropped, and then it boomed and it dropped, and I kept, you know, getting bought in. I was definitely not the first user. But I do believe, and I understand the whole concept of the cryptocurrency space, a decentralized currency, all of that stuff makes sense. But then, you know, it was about a year and a half ago, I start reading about NFTs, and it's, hey, buy this picture, this digital image, pay $10. Someone will then pay you $28,000 3 days later because it's worth so much money. And I'm like, wait, it's a picture of a tweet. I don't get it. And I've started to hear people go, oh yeah, that's the wonderful Ponzi scheme, right? It's this idea of like, everyone gets in and makes money until the last guy is left holding the bag and tries to sell the $64,000 picture of the tweet, and no one wants to buy it. And now you're out $64,000. So why are NFTs not a Ponzi scheme? Like maybe demystify the NFT space to help people understand it.
For sure. You know, NFTs, you know, got exploded like in the past year from Bored Apes and Nike coming in with Clone X and everything else as well too. You know, for me, I've been in the space since about like 2014, 15 or so. So I've went through like probably about like 4 or 5 like whipsaw, like,
yeah, I'd love for any of the viewers to comment about some of their ups and downs and everything else.
But I'll say though, zoom out, it's gotten bigger. So that's what I'll say about that. But so from experience though, like NFTs just launched, so it's having its like 2017, 18 ICO moment. People came in with just big ideas, big visions, wasn't able to actually execute. And also too, you have to understand everything that is ever mentioned in Web3 at all, or in blockchain and crypto, the moment they just have an idea, they fundraise and they announce it, it's probably going to be 3 to 5 years before they actually build a prototype or actually anything usable. Like that's just the fact. We go to every like NFT game. Again, that's why I'm so skeptical of these NFTs and these NFTs for games, because I already know, like, I was hosting like events and conferences back in like 2019. I created the first blockchain stage inside of E3 in 2018, 19. And I had like all the big companies, like ex-Activision guys and everybody come in, and they raised 30, 40, 50 mil, and they still haven't delivered a beta product. And that was like 2018 or 19 yet. I mean, it's like an alpha product at best. So that shows you how delayed, if these caliber of people and well-funded people can't even execute that, then that's how slow things are. But so I'll say like NFTs just had a huge boom and massive hype. It is similar to like even with how when Bitcoin started to have its run, and Dogecoin and Litecoin and all these other coins started popping out, they didn't have any purpose. But there's two factors. There's actually real utility, and that takes a lot more years to build out than obviously people like Starbucks, Ticketmaster, Nike, and even like Rimowa just even announced something as well too. They're starting to put their hat in the ring, but it's going to take them many years to do some more research, test, and actually try it out, because even a lot of these blockchains are not even viable still. But all the other projects, like the different JPEGs and pictures that you're seeing, yeah, they're getting massively overvalued. But what I've learned in crypto land is, as long as there's potential gains to be made, then people are going to go try to trade it. And that is true with like, even if you look at a dead coin like Luna, Luna Classic and current Luna, like it has no purpose, but it's still being traded because it goes up. If it goes up 20%, that's enough for people to want to chase that, and people are bored. And we're starting to see that happen, not just in NFTs, right? That happened to like Pokemon cards.
So it's like there's a world where we've got utility-based coins where it's just like there's real value that's going to continually rise. And then there's the other stuff, which is like, I'm going to go street gamble a bit, and I'm going to go gambling, and I'm going to go play a poker set, and let's gamble. And so it's just like, how do you differentiate the difference between a utility coin that is stable and going to grow versus a bunch of the stuff that you're just like, hey, I just want to get in, gamble, grab some cash and leave, right?
Yeah, and it's different though too, because the NFT collections are, usually they're about like 10,000 NFTs that they sell maximum, compared to like a crypto that sells like millions or 100 million or a billion tokens. So instead of 10,000 supply means it is a more attractive Ponzi in a way.
It's rare, because right? They built rarity. Yeah. And I think it's as the more you talk about, because I am, again, when I say this, I actually do currently own Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. So again, I don't mean to make it sound like I have no belief in this. I do. And now we got our new offices. I got a TV in my office, and I like something in the background.
Hey, we have customers paying us in coins. So it's
correct. So again, I totally believe in it. And it's this understanding of, I love how you put it, of some have utility and then some are outrageously speculative, but you see it in the sneaker market. So you mentioned Pokemon cards. The sneaker market's the same thing. They figured out a way to go, hey, what we'll do is we'll only make 1,000 of this colorway of this Jordan 4. You'll never wear them because you spent $800 on them. So you're really just collecting them more than anything else. It's a digital collection. You need to decide if you're one of the Bored Apes, it's going to be worth something for a long time. The problem I saw was a lot of people go, oh, the Bored Apes were worth so much. That means NFTs are all going to spike like Bored Apes. But they all have, most haven't, right?
Most of them fizzled, yeah.
If they don't have utility. And so actually a lot of our clients are in the gaming space, and they're built, and not most, I shouldn't say that. We have a lot of gaming clients, and then many of them are working on NFT-based projects, right?
Yep.
There is, in many cases in the gaming world, I totally get the use case of your NFT is something that you own, whether it's the gun you're able to use or the skin that you have or whatever, and it can be an NFT, and that makes total sense because
you can have a unique skin that you can trade or sell or redeem back, or if you invest $1,000
totally makes sense.
Game and you want to be a part of the community, that asset gets to live within the game. But if you want to pull out and turn it into some cash, then you can do that as well, and you can redeem rewards of things that you invested, which allows you to almost be like a Kickstarter, but it's like a Kickstarter that can give back a little bit, which some of the use cases in games is awesome, but I've also spoken to a number of gaming studios where I heard how they were using Web3 or NFTs in their game, and I was like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not supporting
They're
that.
doing it the wrong way, potentially.
You're not building games. You're scamming people out, and like that I'm not into. But there are some studios that are building some pretty impressive game economy systems and economic systems that actually can add a lot of value long term for the video game community.
Definitely.
And then there are others where it's swipe left, run away as fast as you can.
So yeah, like I said, you know, it's very like 2018, 19 ICO level hype. So only the top like 1% will rise, and then there will be a new generation of NFTs that pop out. If there's going to be another bull market, then you're going to see another NFT hype cycle again. And it's the same thing with like coins, meme coins, and other coins that just are derivatives from each other. You know, if there's somebody that has a great idea and a project does very well, then somebody's going to create a derivative off of it, since they can just like fork the code and just copy it and just like redesign it and launch as well too. But what I'll say too, like if you want to look at it from like a DAO token and other standpoint, the Bored Apes are right now treated as like the top token to get into the club, I should say, or in this case, the Bored Ape DAO. And so the idea or the hope is that JPEG or the NFT is that membership ticket to get in, and then in the future you can get you can get access to games, clothes, characters, or even other items in the game. So they're actually, you know, Bored Apes are actually building their own game. But you have another project like Artifact. So when you buy the character, the Clone X's, they actually give you the 3D model, so you can actually have the full character. They have different fashion clothing items that they also have in partnership with Rimowa, as well as Nike and others as well too that are building it. So there are different projects that are trying to move the needle forward and get you into that gaming metaverse direction. But I don't want to go into that whole the whole metaverse talk. That's a whole nother like black hole.
Right? Like you can buy the jacket. Like I can buy this jacket as an NFT, but what it comes with is I get this physical jacket, plus I get my NFT variant online, and it's like my avatar in the game, or my avatar, I guess, in the metaverse. And eventually I can have this jacket in the real world and in the video game and use it in whatever other fashion I want, because I've already bought this item, right?
I will say it's, you know, again, so I got this TV in my office and I like something playing, and I put on CNBC, where it's like the stock tickers and all that stuff. And I was shocked this morning. I just popped my head up. All of a sudden, part of the stock ticker in the bottom corner, it would flip from saying what the Dow Jones is, the S&P, and then it showed me what Bitcoin was trading at.
Nice.
And that, to me, it was like one of those things that, you know, had we recorded this in 2016, we would be talking about Bitcoin and crypto. No chance would CNBC be talking about Bitcoin. So clearly it's like, to your point of 3 to 5, 7 years of adoption, and Bitcoin has become a mainstream investment, right? And so maybe NFTs in 2028 will become a very mainstream, to where you'll see Bored Apes, you know, it'll be a picture of the ape going across the screen, although I guess they probably can't because they don't own it, right? Would go across the screen and say what Bored Apes is trading at, and it would become something that would be a vehicle to invest in. It's just a digital asset versus a physical.
Yeah. And also too, and then what I'll say also too on the defense of NFTs too, is just that they are more fun in a way, because there's bigger brands, they're cooler, and sometimes and that the less tech savvy and, like, you know, talking about even DAOs, decentralization and protocols and blockchain, all this stuff, you know, the mainstream trader and collector, again, that's buying these shoes, that's buying all these different art pieces and other stuff that is, or even digital assets, they just don't want to get to that complexity. They just see something that can be flipped, or they can be a part of, and they get it because a big brand or celebrity is like pushing or shilling it, and they can feel like they're part of their community. Then it's you know, attracting a whole different audience. You know, I went to like a conference like NFT NYC. It's massive, and it just is attracting a whole nother crowd and of people that just don't understand even crypto in general, which is fine. It is like the path to mass adoption.
So NFT NYC I was supposed to go to, and I didn't get to go to for a lot of reasons, and I was super jealous because we have a lot of clients that were there. I was able to see some of the things, the concerts, the shows, the events that happened, and I had people FaceTiming me. It seemed like one of the coolest events that I've ever been to. Had FOMO like crazy, and so we had registered, or we were trying to go to NFT Nashville Labor Day weekend. Got canceled like 2 days before it was supposed to launch. It was like it was supposed to be at Bridgestone, and they had like the whole map and the layout and everything, and it shut down 2 days before the event. But I've heard amazing things about Decentral and what you were able to host in Miami last year. So I do want to make a small little bit of a transition and go into like what's this year looking like for you guys over at Decentral Miami and the event that's coming up, because
Yeah, definitely. So, last year we hosted our event in Miami right when things were slowly kind of like opening up for travel and everything. So Art Basel was the perfect time to kind of launch that. And what we did was we kind of built a conference that was for everybody. So it wasn't just only about NFTs. Again, if you don't understand NFTs or NFT hater or whatever it is, that's fine. Like we had programming about decentralization, DeFi, DAOs, and protocols to come in. But what we did make sure, though, is that we still want to bring all the NFT and DeFi people all together, because we think that everybody can still learn from each other, from past mistakes, collaborate, find out things that work well, especially if like NFTs are such in a nascent state, right? These founders and developers, even traders, are still so new to the game. They barely not have even set up a MetaMask wallet. But if we can help level them up super fast and fast track, but actually talking about the tech and the actual real utility and things, then we can help level up the field. And that's what we set out to do, is to kind of level up everybody's knowledge by combining best of both worlds of like what's happening on the crypto side and NFT side together. We could have had a conference that was purely only about NFTs, but we didn't want to do that. I think for us, our roots is always about decentralization and moving, all of the space together. And so this year, we're back again in Miami. Miami has been a big Web3 hub, at least in the US.
Yeah.
It's just everybody's just been moving over there. At least are expanding like their satellite teams over there. It's close to Puerto Rico and whatnot, and just has those nice beaches. It shifted over from Blockchain Beach in LA and San Francisco. Everybody got out of there and then just hopped over. And same with New York. Everybody got out there and went down to Florida. So it's undeniable that there's so much stuff happening down there in terms of just like entertainment, culture, and art. And this year, we're back again to kind of bring Web3 to the forefront and discussions of what's happening there. And so like our events is always kind of like that South by Southwest style vibe, where we have fun, but still have really strong talks and speakers to come about, so that we can not lose the integrity and downgrade our event to just be like a mainstream, like super casual event. We always like to still retain and have high quality speakers and people there.
Your events are awesome and they happen, which is again the frustration with the one that was here in Nashville. But like, tell us a little bit about get more details on the event. So we're headed to the event. What do we need to do? Because for us, when we go to, we'll just call it a trade show. I know it's not a conference. We want to map out our experience there, right? We don't want to just like show up, get our badge, and sort of walk around and be like, what do we do next? It's like going to a major, a weekend long concert. You want to know, like, all right, I'm going to stage 2 because I want to check out, P. Diddy is playing, or I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, we have multiple stages as well by design. Again, we have like our main stage. So it's just going to be a mixed programming of both NFTs and DeFi. And, we cover everything from games, sports, music, and fashion, etc. So the main stage is really just mixed programming. So you can kind of get a taste of everything. If you want to deep dive into NFTs only, then we have a whole stage dedicated heavily towards NFTs. So it's everything how NFTs impact sports. We have at least like 4 or 5 fashion talks as well too. So we have a fashion track. So it'd be metaverse fashion, luxury, etc. We also have AI, healthcare, and data. That's another new category that we have. And then sports. I think sports. I think games and metaverses as well too, as they're still emerging. So that we have an NFT stage talking all about that. Then we have a decentralized stage that's talking about DAOs, that's talking about a DeFi. Another new category that I've learned about is decentralized science, I guess, is a brand new thing to DeSci. Has been popping up, and there's many other variations of that too. So we have a little bit more heavier talks about that on another stage too. Then in terms of like the art, we have NFT galleries, and then we just have different after parties and performances and that we have during there. And then we also have an exhibitor or an expo area as well, so you can kind of meet and interact with all the different booths and people that are coming about there.
So for everyone, that the viewers and stuff like that, again, I want more comments and who's coming to Decentral Miami and everything else, what they're looking forward to. But for those who are like, wait, I'm not going, I haven't heard about it, what do I do? What are the dates? Give us some of the details. Where is it going to be hosted? How do they go find out about it and grab their tickets, etc.?
Yeah, so it's Decentral. It's like how we spell it right here, Decentral there. And we are on November 28th and 29th. So it's just kind of like kicking off Art Basel. Art Basel is a little tough, I know. Sometimes it's just like right after Thanksgiving. So it's just how I think next year they're going to change it up a little bit as well. So we're always trying to be right in front of their event, just because Art Basel week is just super crazy. It's actually the most busiest time in Miami during that actual, like, starting from like Wednesday onwards in Miami. There's just a ton of traffic, a ton of people there too. So we try to avoid that as much as possible. And so you can find us at decentralcon.com, .com. And we can also send out like a special discount as well to all the listeners. We'll probably call it NXT. Just NXT should be good enough. We'll create that code. And we'll have a heavy discount for that. So anybody that wants to come and just come through, you can come and meet us and see what's going on.
That's awesome. So who is the highlight from you mentioned some shows and stuff like that, either after party or artists that's playing, stuff like that?
So we have a lot of different artists that we're kind of gathering right now. So we still are looking, and everybody's trying to do last minute booking and everything too. So we're still working on booking that. We have our venue set in Wynwood already as well too for our after party. But in terms of like DJs and whatnot, there's going to be a lot of other companies that are coming and that are hosting their own after parties as well. So it's not just our events.
That's right. That's right. That's awesome. I threw out P. Diddy. It's not 2007 anymore, but he might be available.
Yeah, I'll have to reach out.
You're like, yeah, that's awesome. Great. All right. So no P. Diddy. All right. So tell us, when we do go to Miami, this is, you've been there quite a bit. What is the one thing we got to do outside of going to the conference? What do we need to do in Miami? What should we go check out while we're there?
Yeah, I'd say definitely go check out like the art festivals. There's probably like 6 to 8 different, besides Art Basel itself that takes over the convention center. There's other places like Scope and other festivals are showing very different types of art. So I'd say they're inexpensive to go take a look at and see how the more traditional art world looks like. And I guess once you start looking at that, then NFTs and JPEGs being so expensive isn't so surprising anymore.
It does. It starts to make more sense.
Yeah, after you see a piece of canvas and just like a splash of like paint, and that's worth millions of dollars, then
yeah, you're like $4,000 on an NFT seems like a good deal.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But
so do you spend a lot of time in South Beach?
Yes and no. Like when it comes to Art Basel time, you kind of have to choose whether you want to be in South Beach or in downtown, because getting across the bridge will take 1 to 2 hours minimum.
That's nuts.
During that time, and it's going to be probably $100, like just to hop that bridge.
Wow.
Depending on how peak it is, but that's just what it's going to look like. So you kind of have to make your plans around that. And I'd say maybe you want to just split that up in each day, like decide that I'm going to find activities that are happening that is more downtown, which there's a lot of stuff happening near downtown, Brickell and above Wynwood, and then the beach side as well too. But you know,
I will give
you
a recommendation. Have you ever been to Barton G's restaurant?
Barton G's? No, I have not.
Okay, Barton G. It is arguably my favorite meal I've ever had. I wouldn't say best meal, favorite restaurant I've ever been to. So much so that after I went when I was like 25, I like could not wait to just fly my wife down there for a dinner and fly home. That was like all I needed to do. It's called Barton G. It's in Miami. I think there's another location maybe in LA or New York City, but Barton G in Miami is awesome. So you've got to check it out. Anyone who goes down
we'll have to go take a look.
Dcentral, go to Barton G. It is fantastic. It is like the coolest place. It's an experience more than just a dinner.
So one thing I kind of wanted to maybe pull us back to for a hot second is, you know, part of what we do, right, is we're a recruiting agency at the end of the day. And Justin, like I imagine with where you're at, you're speaking to different Web3 companies all the time.
Always.
And you get to hear the good, you get to hear the bad. And I have to imagine you have a pulse on how things are going. And one of the rumors or the things that we've been seeing quite a bit lately has been this idea that like a lot of the big Web3 companies are starting to gobble up some of the smaller players that are around that have been suffering over the last 6 months with, you know, coins starting to tank right now, right? So there's been a lot of vulnerability across these startups that maybe got some funding and then funding pulled out. And then there's been this challenge of, you know, hiring people that believe in Web3 right now and engineers. And so there's all these acqui-hires happening. I guess, are you hearing also rumors of like people really struggling in this space to hire because of the volatility of what's going on, or has it been easier? I guess, what are you hearing from people from like the recruiting and hiring side of the Web3 world?
Yeah, so 2 points. I mean, the first point you highlight upon is just like a lot of merger acquisition or absorbing of that. Obviously, like big fishes like you know, Sam Bankman-Fried, it's just going in and they're just going and taking over and bailing out or saving or taking over. I should say taking over because he doesn't save people for free. He's the top shark actually that literally eats everybody else, and that's his game, right? He's attacked. These guys that are well funded are gonna attack very hard during the bear market, so that they can get ready for the next run, right? Anybody that is doing that is super smart. Same with the protocols that's out there. When like Luna exploded, a lot of people are going after the developers and dApps to come over into their ecosystems as well. That's how people like Polygon did very well during even the previous cycle. They doubled down on getting a lot of the projects to join on board, and when the next cycle came, they were ready to go and have people onboarded there too. So that's what we're seeing on the like the big game side. You're seeing that come to play, but then what we're also seeing is more of the traditional institutional Silicon Valley VCs, like the old money, basically are starting to get into crypto and Web3 for better, for worse. You know, Sequoia, Lightspeed, A16Z. They were not here in 2018, 19, 20, barely 2021, even if you say so. They kind of missed even this recent cycle, but they made their claim that they're going to start going down this road of Web3. And they might have raised like a massive fund, like 100 mil to 300 mil fund or something. And so they have to deploy that. And so now you're starting to see them enter this space. Something like A16Z is like starting to just attach their names to just big name projects, whether they really get too deep into or not, just so they can have skin in the game. But they actually didn't really build too much rep initially before that, compared to like Pantera and all these other guys that are coming into this space, right? So that's what we're starting to see is some of these more old school guys coming in, and they have a ton of capital to come in and buy things and invest. So that's happening as well. In terms of like the actual startups and companies, in terms of their recruiting right now, it's kind of like I'd say some people are pulling back on hiring, obviously because of the bear market. Definitely people have been losing some jobs, but I'm seeing also too that also created a new talent pool of people because, again, getting talent in Web3 is super hard. And so people are just shifting into other new roles and new positions to companies that are more well capitalized and that can handle it. And so that's what's different now compared to like previous cycles that I've seen, is that many companies now are well capitalized and they can survive this current downturn for a couple years runway, and they can continue to get good talent now again, and they're just trying to absorb that into their company.
What would you say to the engineer who is like, well, I'm just not used to, I'm not familiar with the NFT space, I'm not the Web3 stuff. Like I know how to write code for the Web2. That's what I've done. That's what I'm used to. If you have a Web3 project, I'm not interested, because it's not that I can't write the code for it. It's I don't get it. Therefore, I'm going to stay away from it. What would you say to that engineer who needs to, like A16Z has figured out, I have to adopt a Web3 game portfolio? Yeah, I mean, I can't not, or I'm going to get burned in the next cycle if all of the others do. How do you say that to an engineer who kind of is the same way of like, I know my way of doing it, I don't want to adopt the new?
Yeah, no, definitely. And you can't really force anybody to adapt anything new. But what I'll say, though, is that, you know, the Web3 companies do need that skill set, right? Especially for those that are experienced in actually building actual Web2 products at scale, or actually have adoption. And so especially like the NFT projects, a lot of them are just looking for those Web2 style like apps and games and things that are not necessarily Web3 heavy, depending on like what chain they're using, like Flow or whatever. So they're looking for more of that polish that they normally don't get in the Web3 space in general. So if you have experience in building or shipping products that works and has scaled, then bringing that to the Web3 world, you're going to be even more valued, and you should get be paid a lot and more too, especially hopping over. And I think that's what's still missing in this space for Web3 in general, and any like new emerging spaces, that we just still don't have that much like actual experienced builders in the space. Just because you've been in Web3 for like 5 years even, but you've never shipped a solid product in Web2, then it's just like, you know, then you have OG stripes in the crypto and you understand crypto and Web3, but again, like
but you don't have massive scale stripes.
Yeah, you don't have actually massive scale. And so that's what makes me more excited about what's happening in an NFT world, is some of these bigger IP brands and game companies and others that actually have shipped stuff out. They're going to go and destroy all the other like small Web3 pure startups that never launched the game. And that's where like I'm really skeptical on the small game studios that have never shipped an actual game before, and just launching a game without even Web3 and blockchain is really hard. Like look at Steam and the Steam Marketplace and all these early access games. Most of them fail and never leave early access. So to add like a token economy up front into that mix, and you never shipped any game before, that's going to be super hard. And so that's what makes me more excited to see what's going on in the next phase of like these more mature brands, companies, and like I said, Web2 builders that are coming into Web3 and bringing that extra skill set, experience, and veteran to really level up the field. And I think that's what help us get to the next stage.
Yeah, that's my point when I talk to an engineer or whatever about it, is this idea that, look, I get that you know how to build Web 2 and you're nervous about this Web 3, but if you can learn how to incorporate Web 3 into what you know, you become a very valuable person. Because there are the people who totally get the NFT space and it makes sense to them and they're ready to do it, but they don't have, to your point, that Web 2 scaling experience. So if you can put those two together, you are a very, very valuable fish in the ocean of life.
So. And again, like if you obviously you get paid a lot in big tech and Web 2, but in Web 3 too now. Again, these companies are, a lot of them are fundraising crazy, massive rounds, and they need help. There's such a huge shortage, and if you think you can, if you have that skill sets, then I highly encourage you to just take a look at it. And again, like Web 3 applies and can affect all industries as well too. So, and totally. Yeah, so hopefully, at least anybody that's listening, just keep an open eye and air out. Again, I wouldn't, if you want to ignore all the crypto and NFTs aside, just understand it's just another. It's like a protocol for a data set or protocol for token or access to any of your assets or virtual assets in the game or anything that you're building as well, or an app or social network too. So except it's, has some decentralized or centralized functions depending on how you built it. It's just another way of building kind of your own internet economy and community for said application, app, or industry.
Awesome. All right, last question. We've taken a lot of your time, Justin, but we ask everyone this, and being that you're in this totally new wild, wild west, I'm curious what your answer is going to be. What's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? It has to be the one that I'll probably watch the most is probably the first Matrix. I just still love that. I don't
of course.
You can't say it. I mean, besides the fact of that dystopian and dystopian vibes and getting red pilled and blue pilled, there's just something about that when I first watched it, just like got me hooked into this. Is like, are we all living in a crazy simulation? I don't know. Yep. Is Neo Satoshi? I don't know either. So, I can't say probably Matrix has been like the most besides maybe Lord of the Rings. I'm just a big fantasy and sci-fi guy. So
what did you think of the newest Matrix?
Yeah, I don't know. And same with Rings of Power. I don't know.
Why are we even talking about this?
Yes.
Come on. So yeah. I am a huge fan. The original Matrix, I think, is one of the top 10 movies of all time.
Yep.
It's
amazing. And then instead of New Matrix, rather watch John Wick.
I sadly have never watched John Wick.
Oh yeah, you got to watch John Wick. I think John Wick is it's different. It's not the Matrix, but it is its own thing.
Props to you for having the perfect favorite movie based on what you do. The fact that you're the Web3 and I just incorporated it with the Matrix is awesome.
I just love that cyberpunk. It's a futuristic dystopia, post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Well, Justin, I am excited for Decentral Miami, November 28th, 29th. Again, how does everyone go grab a ticket?
Yeah, just take a look at Dcentral. So it's Dcentral right here, decentralcon.com. If you're looking for Decentral, you'll be able to find us out. And again, we'll create a special code, NXT. Just keep it simple, 3 letters. That'll get you guys a heavy discount.
That's awesome. So everyone should be heading down to Miami. I mean, come on. You're going to be in Miami in late November. That sounds like about the best place to be anyway.
I don't think you can complain.
Nope. And everyone from Chicago and New York and DC needs to come down late November to Miami and check out Justin and Decentral Miami. It's going to be an awesome conference. Thank you for joining us and in many ways demystifying Web3, NFTs, and everything that is Decentral.
Awesome. Thanks again for having me.
All right. To everyone else, see you guys. And cut. And cut. And cool. Jamie, cut. Jamie, cut.
All good. You guys will be able to splice it.
Yep. She'll cut this out. Clearly.
Awesome.
This was a ton of fun. Thank you so much, Justin. This was really cool.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
Next In.